The December 18th, 2012 Board of Zoning and Appeals meeting. Will you please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This time we'd like to introduce the board members, starting on my right.
Nancy Plesnarski.
Walter Recook,
Gary Willis.
Christopher Bluer,
Todd Chernick.
The Board of Zoning and Appeals is a quasi-legal board composed of resident volunteers of the City of Milton. The board is charged with hearing requests for variances from the standards of the zoning ordinance and appeals of administrative determinations. With regard to decisions on primary variances, the board's basis for decision is provided by these four considerations. A, relief if granted would not offend the spirit or intent of the ordinance. And B, there are such extraordinary and exceptional situations or conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property that the literal or strict application of the ordinance would create an unnecessary hardship due to size, shape, or topography, or other extraordinary and exceptional situations or conditions not caused by the variance applicant. And C, relief if granted would not cause substantial detriment to the public good and surrounding property. And D, that the public safety, health, and welfare are secured and that substantial justice is done. At this stage, we need to approve the November meeting minutes. If I have a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to approve the November meeting minutes as they have been presented.
We have a second.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Passed unanimously. V11-011 to allow an accessory structure to be located in the front yard. Angela, will you please present an update?
I still have a staff report. Mr. Matthews is not here tonight, but he did come into the office Friday afternoon and he met with myself and our city engineer, Jimmy Sanders. He gave me a copy of the certification that he had to get signed for the state, and we went over with him step by step the stormwater requirements that he needs to meet and the floodplain requirements that he needs to meet. I think he understands what he needs to do now. I think he understands we're not, in some emails he's stated we were asking for new things, but I think he gets now that this is the same stuff we've been asking for since day one. And we explained to him that I need this information in order to put together a staff report so we can get this petition moving on. We gave him a deadline of, I think, January 3rd to get the information to me. So hopefully that will put us in line to have him come in and have this heard on the January 15th hearing.
Any questions to staff from the board? I have one. Is he going to come to the January meeting for sure?
He is supposed to. He had a business meeting out of town somewhere that he had planned for weeks or whatever, and he couldn't come to this one. So we told him he really needs to get here.
Yes, sir.
Can we ensure that we are following all the appropriate public notice and postings to make sure that if we wish to hear next, we are completely covered?
Yeah, I don't have, the only thing I have to do at this point is update the sign, but do you want me to send letters out and add and all that again?
I think that's probably desirous for this situation.
So I'll do that again.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's wise.
Angela, is there anything that we need to charge him for extra for any of this? Is there any provision that we have in the code?
Actually, there is going to be a, well, whenever he comes in to get his building permit, we'll like double charge him for that. But instead of a one-part variance, it's actually going to be a two-part variance, and that's one of the things that we didn't know until we saw the information. So it'll be for an accessory structure in the front yard, and there's a stream that borders his property, and so the structure encroaches into the impervious setback. So it'll be a two-part variance.
Will that two-part variance actually cover the cost that we've incurred as a city? How, okay.
It's postage and, ads and.
Any other questions for staff?
It's really not a provision to
Yeah.
cover
charge.
extraordinary charges.
We need a motion.
I would like,
Yes, sir.
yes, I would like to make a motion to defer V11-011 for till the next Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. I believe that's on the third
15th.
Tuesday
October 6th.
of January
2013.
2013.
A second.
There's a comment from the audience.
We have a motion and a second. We have a comment from the audience. Yes, sir?
Can I speak to the group, please?
You sure, man?
Sure.
I like discussion.
Pertaining to this case.
You would state your name and address for the board.
Bill Purdy, I'm 1985 Birmingham Road. I'm in the adjacent lot to Mr. Matthews. That's why I'm here. I received one of the adjacent property owner letters. And not necessarily here to approve or disapprove of the project. I'd like to ask some questions I'd like to ask the group. This is my first time I've been involved in this. I'd like some education, if you don't mind. Have all of you been by to see this structure?
Mm-hmm.
You see what it looks like from the road? Have you seen the property next door where mine is with the landscaping and the gates and the whatever? My other two neighbors who are in the same subdivision, they've put a lot of money in their properties also the last few years to improve the look and the value of the properties. Mr. Matthews has been there about 7 years or 8 years or so there. During that time, he's not only parked boats in the front, but campers. And I have done what I can economically to try and build a green screen down the property line, but it's 600 feet and it's pretty expensive to do that. I'm no expert in architectural and these kinds of things. It's my understanding that Mr. Matthews built this without a building permit. That was correct? If he had approached you and asked or applied for a permit, would he have been granted that permit to build it?
Not without a variance,
And why would that have been, please?
because it's in the, well, the same reason he's asking for a variance now, it's in the front setback, and, the location is also in the impervious setback of the stream,
Okay. Is the problem the structure itself or the boat being parked in the front yard?
the structure itself.
Okay. Is there also an ordinance about parking boats and campers in the front yards?
Probably, I just don't know all the details off the top of my head.
Is anyone on the board familiar with that law?
No, sir.
That's,
It's on the web.
property maintenance thing, I think.
Okay. It's on the website. It strictly
It is.
prohibits parking boats, campers, motorhomes in front yards of all the properties. Do you have to get permissions for that or variances for that also? And is that part of this request?
That's not a request that he's asking for at this time.
Should it be?
I honestly don't know if he can. I don't.
Variances just to the zoning
Yeah,
ordinance?
I
It's,
don't know
uh,
that you can get a variance to the property.
It's section
maintenance.
64-1481 of the city code.
Well, what's your purpose for this? Tonight's, we're only here to hear the variance.
I understand. I'm trying to understand what's going on here.
Let's take it outside of the Board of Zoning Appeals variance process. I'll talk to you afterwards if we need
Okay.
to about things that are outside of that.
Okay, I would like to do that. All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
And let me ask a question if you don't mind, sir.
Yes.
Are you in favor of any variance for that boathouse? Okay.
It should have been built to begin with.
Has he come to you to ask you for a letter stating that you would be in a,
He has, and I have refused.
and are you aware of any of the other neighbors that are either adjoining his house on either side or across the street that would also be objectionable to what he's requested?
I have not talked to them. Now, the neighbor to my immediate left, the other side, Mr. Trevelyan, I've talked with him about it, and he said he would agree with whatever I agreed upon, because I'm the one most affected by this situation.
Sure.
Will you be here in January, sir, at the meeting?
I don't know.
Would you,
Could you be?
I possibly could be, yes.
if not, would you please
Send a
provide
letter.
the city with some letter with your intent?
Okay,
And therefore, we can consider that as if you were here.
all right, appreciate that.
As other neighbors as well, whether
Okay.
they approve or disapprove it. The
That
more-
helps us.
The more we have, the better.
Okay.
And one other
Yeah,
question,
sure.
just out of curiosity, this case has been on the docket for some time.
Certainly has, been up there a long time.
And I'm curious as to what prompted you to be here tonight.
Well, I received this letter. I thought it had been resolved a year ago. I talked with Ms. Rambo back many months ago about this, and I was under the impression that the structure was going to be removed, and it has not been. The boat was missing for a long time, but it showed up again, and it's visible from the road. There are other property owners up the hill. Dr. John Pearson, anyone know him? He put a tennis court in front of his house and to the left, but screened it quite creatively. You would not even know it was there. And if for some reason you think that boathouse should stay there, then could we have some kind of a blind put up so it's not visible to anybody and not be obtrusive?
Would you state all that in your letter, sir,
Sure.
that you give the city?
Sure.
That'd be very helpful, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And one more thing, just so you understand, when we consider a variance, we're looking at really 5 points. We're saying that relief if granted would not offend the spirit or the intent of the ordinance. That there's an extraordinary or exceptional situation or condition pertaining to this particular property that would literally or strictly application of the ordinance would create an unnecessary hardship due to the size, shape, or topography or other extraordinary and exceptional situations or conditions not caused by the variance applicant. So in other words, then relief if granted would not cause a substantial detriment to the public good and surrounding property, and that the public safety, health, and welfare are secure, and that substantial justice is done. I said 5, but I think it's only 4. It's what happens when you read, and you should be wearing glasses, and I'm
I've
not
read
used to
those,
doing
that's
that. But the big thing is, if I was going to write a letter, I would make reference to those statements and say why it either is or is not, and that would help us.
My question would be a precedent being set one way or the other here by this decision within our city. I think we're all trying to have a common theme and make this the nicest community we can. And I don't know if this contributes to that goal.
And we will not, one of the funny things about zoning is it's more particular to a piece of property than setting a precedent. There's not, and I'd have to defer to the city attorney here, but he'll probably tell you the same, that whether we make a decision on this piece of property one way and another piece of property right across the street, it doesn't have any ramifications. It's more based on the physical properties and attributes of that property that would cause us to either make or not make a decision in favor or against that variance. But we appreciate you coming by all means.
Yeah, thank you.
And
It
we
helps
really
us
do.
make-
Okay, thank you.
And
Thank you.
If you could be here next month, that would be huge.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Do you folks have anything to add to this? Okay.
They're learning.
Well, just wanted to make sure. Okay, we have any other discussion?
Please, if I may.
Yes.
Based on your meeting with the applicant last Friday and your discussion with him of what is required, do you have a strong belief that this will be resolved in January, or that is more of a hope than?
If he, the town and contacts his engineer, it's mainly a matter of engineer doing the right site plan and showing topo and elevations and that sort of, it can be done.
And how long has this been in front of us? Has it been a year?
June 2011.
I'm getting tired of it, about this. Okay.
Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second to defer to the January 2013 meeting. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Pass unanimously. Our next variance request is V12-016 to allow a recreational court to encroach in the 50-foot rear yard setback. Angela, will you please present?
Yes, sir. The site, 13963 Tree Loft Road, is located in the Crabapple Brook subdivision. The lot consists of approximately 1.7 acres and is zoned AG1. It is located in the northwest Fulton overlay. The property, which includes a house, pool, and pool deck, the eastern property line is formed by a creek, which includes a 25-foot buffer and a 10-foot impervious setback. The lot is bisected by a rocked and landscaped drainage ditch, which flows into the stream. The owners, Todd and Vicky Borima, built a 120-square-foot concrete basketball court surrounded by a knee wall towards the rear of their property. The concrete is stained a natural green color. They did not obtain a building permit. The court, as installed, encroached into the 25-foot buffer and the 10-foot impervious setback. When the city arborist discovered the court, he informed the Barimas of the buffer encroachment. They immediately removed the part of the court which encroached into the stream buffer and impervious setback. The majority of the remaining court is located in the minimum rear yard of the lot. It encroaches approximately 35 feet into the rear setback. The Barimas have added landscaping around the court in order to minimize the impact on their neighbors. Section 64-1602B1 states that recreational courts serving single-family detached dwellings shall be located inside or rear yards, but it shall not be located within a minimum yard. Therefore, a variance is required. December 4th, 2012, the DRB offered the following comments. With the landscaping and letters from the adjacent property owners, have no problem with this court. Building plan review, site plan review, DOT stormwater, all had no comments. The arborist stated the Barimas removed the part of the court that encroached into the stream buffer as soon as it was brought to their attention. Standards for consideration were read earlier, and the applicant responds as follows. Due to extraordinary challenges imposed by topographic conditions, home alignment, stormwater drains, and septic leach field placement, staying out of the rear setback causes a hardship. Our corner lot slopes down from both sides of our street frontages to the back and side of the property. This prohibits us from installing a more customary basketball hoop at our driveway. The only plausible area to install the court, yet not impact the storm drain, septic tank leaching field, or protected state water buffer, would be to place it in the most level portion of the property, which is the minimum rear yard. To maintain the spirit of the side and rear yard setback ordinances, we have installed substantial trees and shrubs on both bordering property lines. Thus, the sport court does not cause substantial detriment to the surrounding properties. We have received approval from both the adjacent property owners as well as the Crabapple Brook Homeowners Association. Recommended conditions. Should the board choose to approve the application, staff recommends the following. Staff has no conditions at this time. And this concludes the staff presentation.
Thank you. Any questions from the board to the staff at this time? Yes, sir.
Angela, it says in the review that you have letters. Do you have letters from the adjoining property owners?
It's in here.
in the packet.
It's in the
They're
back.
near the rear.
Yeah, there's three of them.
HOA,
And the two neighbors.
So you verify that these are their neighbors both next door, and is it across the street? There's three, or?
27, they're next door. They're lot 28, so we have 27 and 29.
Any other questions to staff from the board? At this time, we'd like to ask the applicant to please come forward and present, and if you would state your name and address, we'd certainly appreciate it.
We're Todd and Vicky Barima. We are at 13963 Tree Loft Road in Milton, 30004 in Crabapple Brook. Do you want us to state our case?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Please.
Well, per the letter, we stated, we do have some hardships with our property. We are a corner lot property, and our house is actually angled on our property. So what we thought was our side yard, what views to be our side yard aesthetically, is actually our backyard, and that's where we do encroach on the backyard, the 50-foot backyard setback. Our property has quite a few obstacles, thank you, and most of it is topography because it's all sloping downward, and where we have put the sport court is at the lowest level of that. And as Angela had stated, we originally made it too big, and we were not aware of the state water buffer and the 10-foot impervious area. So once Mr. Law brought that to our attention, we immediately had it removed, had somebody come out, remove it. We worked with him on creating landscaping. We went over and above what he had recommended for us to do in spirit of giving more screening to our neighbors. Hence, they have given us their approvals, that they have no problem with it. The fact that it's already there for them to see and understand what it's all involved in, they still approved it. Hopefully that goes a long way as well for the board. Normally, we live in a neighborhood that doesn't have any amenities, and so this is why we created it for our children, our two boys. Hence, it's become a neighborhood sport court. So a lot of people are very interested in this going through. But normally we would have put it in our driveway and just, had them shoot hoops in our driveway. But our driveway slopes downward as well because it all, I guess, feeds into the stream. So with those hardships in mind, it was the only area to put it. And our neighbors and our association approve of it.
Thank you.
Any questions from the board to the applicant? Yes, sir.
Did you seek approval from your homeowners association prior to building this?
Yes, we did.
And you received approval? I saw there was a letter in here. I didn't check if it was dated or not.
Yes, yeah, we did. We received it well in advance before we put it in. And then we worked with them from there because their only recommendation is that we added screening, and we had done that at the top of our property on Bassnet, even though our legal address is Tree Loft. At Bassnet, we put up hollies
Yeah, I see
up
those.
there to screen it. So from the road, you cannot see, well, you can kind of see it a little bit, but they were happy with what we did, and they signed off on that as well.
Who built the basketball courts?
The concrete slab, I may have the invoice, actually.
And they didn't tell you that you needed a building permit?
No. In fact, we started with just doing the court, so it would just be a concrete slab. And in doing so, we noticed after it was done that the topography was more than what we thought it was. So we built like a little sitting wall or knee wall or whatever to retain the dirt. And I thought at that point maybe a permit was needed. But when it was just the concrete slab, I didn't think it was an improvement or a structure. So we didn't think to do that.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Did you intentionally wait till the holidays to file this so that you would know that it would be a week before Christmas? And
No, but that does go in our favor. No, this was brought to our
looking
attention
at a very favorable.
well in advance.
I just thought I'd ask.
Yeah, they, Mr. Law, I'd have to go back and find the violation. But it was on Tyler's birthday, wasn't it? So it was like September 25th. And because of the way the board's next meetings were coming up, they didn't want to put it in November. They put us in December. So hopefully that gives you peace of mind that we didn't do that.
Any other questions for the applicant that are?
One last question. How big is, and it's here, I just didn't read it. How big is your lot size?
1.7 at
Okay,
least. It
great.
might be a little bit more than that.
Okay, yep, it's good enough. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thanks.
As there is no public comment, you do have the opportunity to make any closing statement you'd like to make if you want to make one. If not, that works for us as well.
Our closing statement is just that when it was brought to our attention, we did everything possible to adhere to what was supposed to have been done and what needed to be done going forward. Hopefully Angela believes that we've worked well with the city and, trying our best to preserve what's left there for our children. So hopefully it's approved.
How old are your two kids?
We have an 11-year-old and a 2-year-old, so there will be many years of usage
Still real.
In the
Thank you very
neighborhood.
much.
in the neighborhood, yeah.
Yes,
And then everybody.
Several neighborhood kids do.
thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions for staff from the board? At this time, we'd like to close the public hearing, and the floor is open for a motion. Yes, sir.
I would like to make a motion for approval of V12-016. This is a variance to allow a recreational court to encroach into the 50-foot rear yard setback.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second for Nancy.
The reason I'm making this motion, I went out to the site and looked at it, and I'll just tell you, I had a hard time seeing the court because of the very things they said. It's downhill a good bit from Bassinet Drive. In addition, as they stated, they did put hollies up towards the street to create more of a screen. I did see where they did try to landscape along their neighbor's property, and I think over time that area would grow. So again, I guess, I think if we do grant the variance, it is in the spirit and intent of the ordinance. I do believe they made a mistake. They also went back and removed some of the court because it was in the stream buffer, and with 2 letters from adjoining property owners along with the HOA, I have no problem making that recommendation, because I think it would be for the benefit of the public good and surrounding properties if they're allowed to keep it.
Any discussion? Yes, sir.
Walt, I understand your request to approve, our motion to approve. Can we just make reference for the city record, the plat that was provided, which more clearly defines the extent of the encroachment for the public record, and that's the plat dated 10/22/12?
I'd have no problem making an amendment to the variance to add the drawing, the property survey, dated 10/22/12 by Georgia Land Surveying Company, and revised on 12/14/12. And it does show the basketball court in the lower south corner of the property.
Nancy, will you re-second that again, please?
I'll second that.
Any additional discussion? We have a motion to approve V12-016 to allow a recreation court to encroach in the 50-foot rear setback per survey dated 10/22/12, revised 12/14/12 by the Georgia Land Surveying Company. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Good luck.
Merry
We're
Christmas.
gonna be over on Christmas to play basketball now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thanks for doing your homework.
Yeah, it really helps. Right.
And Counselor, we have a question for you.
Counselor, I made an error.
You made an error,
It was the first time this year.
that's directed to me.
It is.
He made a motion to approve the November meeting, and he just realized he wasn't here.
I wasn't here.
Do we need to redo that, or does it matter?
Doesn't matter.
That's what I said.
5 of you voted in favor of it, so I'm comfortable.
Just try not to get anybody in trouble, particularly our chairperson.
Thank you for doing your homework. That really helps.
Thank you. Any new or old business? We need a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn this December meeting, this last
Second.
meeting of the year.
Second.
Discussion.
Happy Festivus.
We have a motion to approve, to adjourn. All in favor, raise your right hand. Pass unanimously.